Can you imagine a dinosaur with claws as long as your arms, yet it wasn't a predator? Today, I bring you one of the most strange and astonishing creatures of the prehistoric world. Meet the Therizinosaurus. Although it may look like a hunting machine at first glance, the reality is quite different. Not only was it massive and intimidating, but it also possessed such peculiar traits that scientists are still working to unravel them. Picture this: a dinosaur with a long neck and claws that exceed half a meter in length. Not exactly what you'd expect from an herbivore, right? Well, the Therizinosaurus defies all expectations. With its bizarre mix of features, it's earned the title of one of the strangest dinosaurs ever discovered. So if you've ever thought of dinosaurs as just big, terrifying reptiles, you might be surprised to learn that some were like prehistoric versions of something straight out of a nightmare. The strangest part of all is that the Therizinosaurus wasn't a hunter. Its appearance was a visual trick. Its long claws weren't made for tearing flesh, but rather for reaching and cutting plants, as if it were a giant gardener in the dinosaur era. Why would a dinosaur with such impressive weapons choose not to hunt? And how did it survive in a world where every creature fought to be the strongest predator? If the unusual look of the Therizinosaurus has surprised you, wait until you learn more about its claws. These weren't ordinary claws. Each hand was armed with 3 massive fingers ending in claws that could reach up to a meter in length. In fact, they're the longest claws ever recorded in any known animal, alive or extinct. But how do we explain this unusual trait? And more importantly, what use were they to a creature that didn't hunt? First, it's essential to understand that the claws of the Therizinosaurus weren't just long, they were also sturdy and sharp, though not in the way we'd expect from a hunter. Unlike the thick, razor-sharp claws of predators like the Velociraptor or T-Rex, the Therizinosaurus had thinner, curved claws like giant blades. This shape suggests they probably weren't designed for tearing flesh or killing, but for some other purpose. Scientists have proposed several theories about their function. One of the most accepted ideas is that Therizinosaurus used its claws for foraging, that is, to reach and cut branches from tall plants it fed on. In the late Cretaceous, when this creature lived, vegetation was abundant and diverse. It's been suggested that these claws could help it tear leaves from tall trees, palms, and other vegetation that would have been out of reach for other herbivores. Another intriguing theory is that the claws also served as an intimidating defense. Though it wasn't a hunter, the Therizinosaurus would have been a desirable prey for the Cretaceous predators. Some speculate that its long, threatening claws could have worked as a kind of visual deterrent. Perhaps predators thought twice before attacking, especially since the Therizinosaurus could swing its claws in dangerous strikes if cornered. To better understand this theory, it's worth noting that Therizinosaurus belonged to a group of dinosaurs known as the Therizinosaurids, a unique group of theropods with robust bodies and strong forelimbs, which would have allowed it to wield these claws with considerable control. Research suggests that its arms and shoulders were strong enough to move these long claws in wide, precise motions. Unlike other dinosaurs of its time, which used short, thick claws, the Therizinosaurus would have been like nature's own swordsman, able to swing its claws with precision. Some paleontologists even believe that the Therizinosaurus might have used its claws for digging or handling objects. In its environment, with dense vegetation and root-filled soils, it may have used its claws to move through the underbrush or perhaps to dig up roots or small shrubs for food. This ties into its skeletal structure. Its claws were developed to be sturdy, but not so thick as to be overly heavy. This way, they remained useful in various contexts, which was quite advantageous in the competitive environment of the Cretaceous. Are you enjoying what you're watching? If so, consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me keep creating content like this for you. It costs you nothing, and it motivates me a lot to keep making more videos. So if you want to support the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Now, let's get back to the video. On the other hand, these claws also present an interesting challenge for paleontologists. Despite the great strides made in the study of dinosaurs, many questions remain about how these creatures truly lived, and Therizinosaurus is one of the most puzzling examples. Like other herbivorous dinosaurs with large defenses, such as Triceratops with its horns or Stegosaurus with its plates and spikes, Therizinosaurus seems to have developed a unique form of defense suited to its time and environment, a weapon that doesn't quite fit an herbivore's profile, yet served its own purpose. As researchers continue studying Therizinosaurus fossils and those of its close relatives, they hope to answer these questions and understand what other uses this unique trait might have had. Its long claws could have been one of the most important adaptations for survival in its environment. In the Cretaceous era, the competition for food and the need to protect oneself from predators led to the evolution of unique characteristics like this. When we think of dinosaurs, images of giant creatures with sharp teeth often come to mind. However, Therizinosaurus completely challenges that conventional image. This astonishing dinosaur stands out not only for its impressive claws, but for an appearance so unique that it seems straight out of a science fiction story. Imagine a long, slender neck, similar to that of an ostrich or emu, crowned by a small head with a beak rather than the fearsome teeth we'd expect from such a colossal creature. With an average length of 10 meters and a weight that could reach up to 5 tons, along with its robust body and muscular limbs, the Therizinosaurus ranks as one of the most intriguing and surprising dinosaurs of prehistory. To understand why it was so different, we need to first look at its head. Although we don't have complete fossil evidence of its skull, remains from other Therizinosauridae give us some clues. Instead of a jaw full of sharp teeth, Therizinosaurus had a horny beak, similar to some modern birds. This suggests that its diet was primarily herbivorous, which was quite rare among theropods, the group of dinosaurs to which it belonged, and which includes famous predators like T-Rex and Velociraptor. This beak would have helped it cut vegetation precisely and efficiently. Theropods with beaks developed this structure as an adaptation to a diet that likely included tough plants, such as conifers and other types of hardy Cretaceous vegetation. This was a dinosaur that preferred spending its time picking leaves and shoots rather than hunting. Its beak not only allowed it to cut plants, but also to handle its food more effectively without expending energy on hunting, which was a significant advantage in such a competitive environment. Now, let's talk about its neck. This was unusually long for a theropod, and many scientists believe this feature served to extend its feeding range, allowing it to reach high vegetation without having to move much. The long neck also made it appear more intimidating, an important factor when predators were lurking. Its added height would help it stay alert, detecting threats more easily and reacting accordingly. Another feature that makes Therizinosaurus so interesting is the possibility that it had feathers. While no direct evidence of feathers has been found in Therizinosaurus fossils, its close relatives within the Therizinosauridae group show signs of feather-like coverings. These remnants found in other Therizinosauridae have led many paleontologists to suggest that Therizinosaurus may also have been covered with a type of feather, similar to an ostrich, though perhaps less dense. These feathers could have served multiple purposes: temperature regulation, protection from rain, or even as a means of intimidation. Think of some modern animals like peacocks that use their plumage to deter predators or to impress others of their species. While we can't be certain if Therizinosaurus used its feathers in this way, the idea of a feathered dinosaur of such large size and unusual appearance is fascinating and adds a touch of mystery to its look. Some scientists also suggest that feathers could have been an adaptation to survive the climate of the time. During the late Cretaceous, when Therizinosaurus lived, the climate was warm, but regional variations could create extreme temperatures in certain areas. Feathers might have helped protect Therizinosaurus from sun exposure, or alternatively, helped it retain heat in cooler night temperatures. This adaptation is seen in many birds and other feathered dinosaurs, which makes sense considering that Therizinosauridae were an evolved branch of theropods. Unlike other large herbivores of its time, which developed horns or plates for defense, Therizinosaurus adapted in a very different way, combining elements of defense, feeding, and camouflage. Each aspect of its appearance served a specific function in its environment, helping it to survive and thrive in a world filled with predators. Through fossil remains and comparisons with its closest relatives, we're only beginning to uncover the secrets of its strange and mysterious design. Its appearance reminds us that, although we often imagine dinosaurs as combative beasts, evolution often takes unexpected paths. So far, Therizinosaurus has already proven to be a strange dinosaur, with features that defy the stereotypes of theropods, and this uniqueness goes beyond appearances. It's connected to its unique place in the evolutionary history of dinosaurs. To understand Therizinosaurus better, we need to look at its relatives and see how, over time, it adapted to a lifestyle very different from that of the other members of its group. This phenomenon, known as convergent evolution, occurs when species that aren't directly related develop similar traits due to similar environmental pressures. In the case of Therizinosaurus, though its lineage descended from carnivorous dinosaurs, its ancestors began adapting to a herbivorous diet. What drove these theropods to change their diet and lifestyle? The answer lies in evolution and how certain groups of dinosaurs responded to changes in their environment and competition for food. Around 100 million years ago, during the Cretaceous, the world was filled with vast forests and jungles with plants growing at varying heights and densities. This created an ideal environment for specialized herbivores, and Therizinosaurus found its niche by adapting to this diverse vegetation. While other theropods continued specializing in hunting, Therizinosaurus's ancestors began undergoing anatomical and dietary changes. This evolutionary shift gave rise to the group of dinosaurs known as Therizinosauridae, a family that includes several strange species sharing some of Therizinosaurus's traits. These dinosaurs also had robust bodies and long necks, and many show signs of having been herbivorous. Rather than competing with other carnivores, Therizinosauridae explored a new territory of feeding and survival. For them, plants were an abundant and accessible food source, and gradually their anatomy adapted to this new lifestyle. Interestingly, although Therizinosaurus and other family members were herbivores, their bodies still retained some traits from their carnivorous ancestors. For example, their forelimbs remained incredibly strong, though now adapted to hold and maneuver their massive claws. This combination of traits makes Therizinosaurus a hybrid dinosaur, blending features of a predator with those of a specialized herbivore. It's as if evolution recycled some of the ingredients of predators to create something entirely new and suited to its environment. Another advantage of belonging to the theropod lineage is that Therizinosaurus likely inherited a highly developed sensory system. Theropods are known for having well-developed senses such as sight and smell, something that their herbivorous descendants would have inherited. Although it didn't need to sniff out prey, this dinosaur may have used its sense of smell to detect fresh vegetation and perhaps even sense predators. Additionally, its long and flexible neck would have given it greater vigilance over its surroundings, a crucial advantage in an ecosystem where predators were always on the prowl. To fully understand Therizinosaurus in all its peculiarity, it's essential to know where it lived and which creatures shared its habitat. This dinosaur inhabited what is now Central Asia, in a region that, during the late Cretaceous, was lush with vegetation, combining dense forests with vast plains. This varied environment provided the most important resource for a herbivore like Therizinosaurus, a plentiful and diverse supply of plants, from tall trees to shrubs and ground-covering ferns. However, abundant vegetation didn't mean a peaceful life. The world around it was filled with challenges and threats. The late Cretaceous was an era of intense competition and specialization, where dinosaurs developed extraordinary adaptations to survive. The dense vegetation of its habitat was also home to other large herbivores, and competition for food was constant. Other dinosaurs like Protoceratops, a smaller herbivore with a robust beak and bony frill on its head, similar to Triceratops but without the iconic horns, roamed the same areas and could take advantage of low-growing plants. While Therizinosaurus, with its long neck and extended claws, could reach the higher parts of trees, it still had to compete for the best food sources. Alongside herbivores, predators were ever present in its environment. The Tyrannosaurids, a family that includes some of the most formidable carnivores of the time, were active in Central Asia. These predators, like Electrosaurus, a close relative of Tyrannosaurus rex, were sizable hunters, fast and equipped with powerful jaws. Despite its size and intimidating claws, Therizinosaurus may have been an attractive prey to these predators. To survive, it needed to be on constant alert, which partly explains its long neck, enabling it to raise its head and survey its surroundings for threats. Beyond dinosaurs, the Cretaceous ecosystem was teeming with other life forms. Giant insects like dragonflies with wingspans up to 30 centimeters filled the skies and contributed to the ecosystem's balance. Invertebrates played a vital role in the food chain, pollinating plants and aiding in the breakdown of plant matter, ensuring the nutrient cycle continued smoothly. Primitive birds also took to the skies, distant relatives of the same theropods to which Therizinosaurus belonged. The region is thought to have been populated with conifers, ginkgos, and flowering plants, the first angiosperms that were beginning to diversify and spread across the planet. These types of plants offered an excellent source of nutrients, and Therizinosaurus, with its beak adapted for cutting and its claws for reaching high vegetation, would have been able to take advantage of them in a way that other herbivores couldn't. There's also a chance Therizinosaurus interacted with other Therizinosauroidea and herbivorous dinosaurs that shared its habitat, such as Segnosaurus, another member of the Therizinosauroidea group. Although there is no direct evidence that Therizinosaurus lived in groups, the presence of other Therizinosauroidea suggests that it might have coexisted and perhaps competed with them at times. Its sturdy body and strong hind legs suggest that, despite being a peaceful animal, it was well equipped to stand its ground if threatened. These powerful legs indicate that Therizinosaurus had a stable base and could move with considerable agility if necessary. While it wasn't built for long-distance running, its legs would have allowed it to move quickly over short distances if it needed to escape a predator or defend itself. Additionally, its hind limbs supported its large body mass, allowing it to balance on them while using its claws to reach for food or to deter potential attackers. Therizinosaurus's body structure also shows that, despite its size, it was designed for energy efficiency. Its wide trunk might have housed an extensive digestive system, ideal for processing the large quantities of vegetation it needed to consume. Unlike carnivores, who can go days without eating, herbivores must eat constantly to sustain their energy. Its digestive system likely allowed it to extract maximum nutrients from plants, which was essential in an ecosystem where competition for food was relentless. Often, when we think of dinosaurs, we imagine solitary creatures roaming vast landscapes in search of food. However, dinosaur social behavior, including that of Therizinosaurus, is a fascinating area that has begun to draw the attention of paleontologists. Understanding the social dynamics of this unusual herbivore can offer valuable insights into its daily life and interactions within its ecosystem. First, let's consider the possibility that Therizinosaurus was a social animal. While there is no definitive evidence that it lived in large groups, adaptations in many herbivorous dinosaur species suggest that herd life could have provided significant benefits. Group living would offer collective defense against predators, more efficient food searching, and care for young, advantages that could promote survival. Paleontologists have found fossils of other herbivorous dinosaurs indicating social behaviors, so it's reasonable to infer that Therizinosaurus may have shared some of these traits. Herd formation among herbivorous dinosaurs often relates to foraging. In an ecosystem where competition for vegetation was intense, a group could more effectively explore its habitat, identifying areas rich in food. Additionally, by sharing information on the best feeding grounds, these groups could optimize their time and resources, a strategy that benefits not only individuals, but the survival of the species as a whole. A solitary dinosaur would be an easier target for predators, whereas a group of Therizinosaurus, despite being herbivores, might intimidate hunters with their sheer size and impressive claws. Although their claws weren't designed for attacking, they could have been used defensively if the group felt threatened. The story of Therizinosaurus is a remarkable testament to the diversity and complexity of life in the Cretaceous. This dinosaur not only challenged expectations about herbivores of its time, but also demonstrated how evolution can create surprising survival strategies. Therizinosaurus reminds us that nature is an interconnected system, with each creature playing a role in the fabric of its ecosystem. As we continue researching and uncovering new fossils, our understanding of this intriguing dinosaur and its world keeps evolving. Each new discovery offers us a chance to reimagine what life on Earth might have been like millions of years ago, revealing information about the life that thrived long before humanity came to dominate the planet.